What's up, guys? It's Lionel the Builder back again with another video, and today we're gonna continue on our topic of the month, which is the state of the current market and what it will take in order to break in. I was just watching a YouTube video called, I believe, Why Coding Isn't Enough Anymore. I got about 5 minutes into it and I was like, you know what, this is a great video to react to, so I paused it and let's watch it now. Without any further ado, this is Internet Made Coder with Coding Isn't Enough Anymore.
So learning to code is not really enough anymore. I always thought that when you become a developer and you work for a company, or especially if you build something on your own, it's all about being the best programmer. But what I've realized 2.5 years into my life as a developer is that beyond a certain point, no one actually cares about your coding skills. And this is set to become even more true.
I would honestly say that from what I've experienced so far, that is true. As long as whatever you're trying to do works without any error codes and it looks good, that's really the most important thing. That's why I try and tell people to don't worry too much about memorizing everything. Now, at the same time, you don't want to be whack. You don't want to be the weakest link. You don't want to be, the lowest guy on the team, but at the same time, you don't want to let that stop you from building stuff, because a lot of times that's why tutorial hell is a thing. Let's be honest. It's easy for us to get dopamine from doing courses and feel like we're learning more versus building. So far I agree.
True in 2024. So I recently saw this quote by Tom O'Reilly, who's this apparently important tech personality thinker guy, and it gave me the idea of making this video. This is the quote. I think the golden age of the last couple of decades where you can become a programmer and you'll get a job is sort of over. Programming is no more like being able to read and write. You just have to be able to do it. So basically what this is saying, that in the future, coding will just sort of be a thing that you're supposed to know how to do, rather than this super special skill that people are going to pay a lot of money for. So I wanted to explore this argument.
All right, that's a little scary, but I think I get it. I think he may be onto something. Let's say, and I would say that software engineering, coding, front end, back end, full stack, whatever you are, at the end of the day, you're just making it work. I believe that where we are headed, all of these things that I just mentioned, it's more like being a mechanic, right? We don't know if the mechanic is working on the engine, if he's changing the oil, if he's whatever they're doing in there, as long as our car is driving when we leave. So as long as you can connect everything and get everything to work and do what the project needs it to do, and make the iterations, the changes, the updates that you need to make, then you're in there, in my opinion. Now, to get your chance though, right, you have to have experience. Freelancing is great, of course, because then you have your clients. But yeah, let's keep it going.
Argument, and I'll give you my conclusion of whether that is going to happen in a second. But what is certainly clear, that simply learning to code and then getting a job that's going to pay you enough to like build wealth and build an amazing life is not as easy anymore as it used to be before, especially now in 2024. And I think there's 3 reasons for this. First is simply because learning to code is easier than it has ever been. Like, I could probably teach my dad some basics of programming in like 2 hours and then just give him ChatGPT, and like he might be able to code something pretty reasonable in that time. Another thing is that the world has sort of caught on to this learning to code thing, and the fact that having a 9-to-5 job that's pretty chill, where you just get to sit at home with your laptop, is a pretty good deal, especially compared to the other high-paying corporate careers like law, banking, and these kind of things. And when you have dumbasses like me online literally shouting from the rooftops and telling everyone how amazing being a software engineer is, well, that leads to a lot of other people trying it. And then we have the job market, where with AI and all these kind of things, companies don't need as many developers anymore. Like Twitter laid off literally like 80% of their workforce. So when you combine more and more people getting into coding and the process of learning it being easier than it was ever before, with a lot less job opportunities available, that leads to a lot of competition, right? A lot less job opportunities.
I like
process of learning it being easier than it was ever before.
I like looking at graphs like this because I'm more of a visual learner and also a strategist. So it's good to know what we're dealing with here. You know, it's good to know the nature of the beast. Although I do believe that it won't always be this way. And that's why I still believe that becoming a real one, because when you say a lot of people learning to code and how easy it is to learn how to code, you also have to remember like how many regular average Joes are going to like not really build their portfolios, not finish their courses, get frustrated after they've been told no 5 times after applying and then go back. So, you know, unless ChatGPT is going to be fully automatic and can do anything, and then even then, I'm still not convinced that CEOs even then are going to want to talk to ChatGPT to build stuff. You know what I mean? But you still want to be the high value person who can build anything. And you know how many times I'm laying in the bed and I have a brilliant idea that it just feels so good to know that I can code it, that if I was to really dedicate myself to any of my random ideas that I have written down, that I could build a team around that and then make it happen. So even not even thinking about the job market, you know, just in general, as a self-development person, I feel like coding is almost like working out for me and for most of you guys if you're here, right? As long as this is something that you could see yourself doing forever, the ability to create, it's almost like playing the drums or being able to paint or being able to draw and write. Coding to me is that. And I don't think that the job market, well, nothing ever stays the same. Everything works on cycles, right? You can go back, zoom out and look at the graph. It's up and down. So yeah, but I like looking at this though.
With a lot less job opportunities available, that leads to a lot of competition, right? But it's not all bad, because there are some things you can do. Because what 99% of people who get into coding don't realize is what actually makes for a good developer. So we'll talk about a couple of extra skills that you need to just learn on top of coding to actually make you stand out massively. And another thing that they don't know are certain strategies that are now becoming the sort of new best opportunities with coding that don't have this competition, where you can go and take your coding skills and still build wealth and build this amazing life that you actually want. So we'll talk about both in this video. Before we get into that though, if you're looking to make 2024 the year you finally take action and become a developer, I'm running a non-technical, my own experience. You can check that video. So first, let's get real about what it's actually like to be a developer in the real world. Like, you might have these ideas of you being a developer at some companies and you're just giving these amazingly complex problems that are like exciting, and then you solve them and like everyone thinks you're super cool because now you're smart and you're like doing this amazing like impactful work and all these kind of things. But in truth, like, this is what it looks like. The tasks you're given are most of the time gonna be something that you have no idea how to complete. And number two, these
facts.
tasks are gonna be the most boring things you could imagine, like moving some
Nah, not for me. The stuff that I have been given to do, I honestly have no idea, you know, how to do it at first until I go and learn it, but it's not boring. And I love the fact that I feel like once I crack that code and I get it, it'll never kick my ass like that again. So I look at myself as, you know, this is a video game and I'm leveling up every single time I complete you know, something in here. Like, this is all stuff that I am like collecting. You know, I have like 4 books and journals of notes and stuff, and of course my ChatGPT history is crazy, and I've been building this entire time, but not boring.
moving some button around, or literally just filling some config files that sort of just have to exist, but no one actually really cares. Like, you can think about like taking out the trash at home. Like, no one's gonna think you're a hero for doing it, but it just sort of has to get done. And especially as a junior, these are the level of things you're gonna be doing, and no one really actually cares about what you're doing at the end of the day. So if you're there as this hotshot junior developer and you're like really motivated and you want to stand out and you want to show them like, yes, I deserve the promotions and all that, what can you do to stand out? Well, I believe the first thing to show are some actual human skills. So the stereotype of a developer is just some nerd coder who's sitting in his mom's basement and coding some like weird projects that no one cares about. And when you get into the real job, like, this is legitimately what most devs in in the job are like. Like, I'm not kidding. Most of them literally look like they've never interacted with a real human in their lives. They might be good at coding, but when it comes to communicating, to explaining what they're doing, to like teaching someone else in the team how to do something, they just can't do it. And it's really annoying to work with these kinds of people.
I have heard that this is true, although I work remote. The only co-working developer experiences that I have is 2 hackathons that I participated in. And I have definitely heard, though, that as developers, we have the reputation of not being able to communicate things well. And since with me, I just started coding 2 years ago, I would say, like full time. And but before that, one of my strengths as a human has always been my communication. And I do feel like that had a great hand in what allowed me to break through into the industry, while a lot of my counterparts, and people who have been coding as long as I have without a boot camp or a degree may still be looking or may have failed. So I definitely harp to my builders. I always tell y'all, networking, communication is key, is a major, because you're think about this. Not only are you going to have to talk to your clients when you're freelancing, right? You're gonna have to talk to your clients. You're gonna have to talk to your interviewer. You're gonna have to talk to your team lead. You're gonna have to talk to your bosses at every single meeting, right? You're always going to have to communicate things, whether things are good that are going on, whether things are bad, whether it's just an update in the middle. Everybody appreciates the effort this day and days of the guy who texts back fast, who tells people things before they ask that they wanted to know. These are simple things, really. These are things that are easy, okay? And then this can help buy you more time with other things that you may be lacking in, because you can very easily become your coworker's favorite person by your communication skills. And that's something that we all have control over, and to me is a lot easier than writing an entire algorithm. You know what I mean? It's just communication.
So if you can be the one developer who actually has real communication skills, like you can just be personable, be charismatic, someone who's nice to work with, that is actually going to set you apart quite well. And I think that's the first way to set yourself apart as a developer in 2024. Now, the second thing is having an understanding of what actually makes for good software. Most people think that the job of a developer is to write code, and that's nonsense. That's actually not what your job is about. Let me be clear, no one gives a fuck about your code. When we built our first app, Boxio, do you think any single user who downloads that application is going, oh, I bet they're using a cool WebSocket to connect my browser to this application. This is the reason why I'm gonna use this app. No one thinks that way, because no one cares about the underlying code. What people care about is one thing and one thing only. Does this app solve some problem for me? Is this something that I want to be using? So now that you understand that, how can you use this information to help you? Businesses are very logical entities. They only care about one thing and one thing only: making money. And the only reason you exist as an employee is to make that company more money. So what your job should be to understand very precisely how your job and your work contributes to the company making more money, and then do things that actually help the company make more money by understanding things like user experience, which is about forgetting what.
Right, so getting straight to what is going to solve the problem, what is going to push you past your error screen, and what is going to make the thing that wasn't working before work, and then what is going to improve on it. Like you said, the user experience, that's a major key. So don't get held up on, you see this picture right here, all of these different things here, you know what I mean? All the time in my live streams, I go ahead and inspect the browser, and I'm like, come on, are y'all really gonna write all of these divs? Are you really gonna write all of these scripts? No, you're gonna zoom in on whatever the one problem is, whatever the one task is, and you're gonna make that work and push past it onto the next thing, with speed and accuracy. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the perfect developer. So don't get held up. Get out of tutorial hell.
What the code actually looks like, and just like thinking about the apps that you're building from the perspective of the user. When the user opens up this checkout page, for example, what's gonna make this flow of entering the card details and whatever as easy as possible and as nice for the user as possible? When we built the first version of our app, Voxio, the user experience was absolutely terrible. So probably a lot of people downloaded it, just instantly deleted it because it made no sense what you were even supposed to do. So I absolutely make these mistakes myself. And in these kind of situation, the kind of developer that would have been the most valuable developer is the kind of developer who understands user experience, who understands that the purpose of software is to solve problems for our users, to write our code in such a way that is as nice and as good for the user to use as possible, and that solves the problem that our software is trying to solve as well and as easily as possible. Now, of course, at a massive company like a big corporation, it's going to be much harder for you to have any influence over these kinds of decisions because the things you're doing are just way too small for you to actually tangibly be able to like improve the user experience or do other things that actually help the company make more money. But this actually takes us into the next set of things I want to talk about, because you see the path that almost everyone when they're learning code has in mind is like, okay, I'm just gonna get a job at a big company and then I'm just gonna climb the corporate ladder, get promotion, and then eventually I'm gonna be rich and all these kind of things. But let me tell you, this path is becoming less and less and less appealing and effective as time goes on. And what I'm talking about with this first thing is something called geographic arbitrage. Thanks to the internet nowadays, there's actually no need for you to live in the same location as where your employer is. So what you can do is work for a Western high-income company, like a company in the US, for example, as either a freelancer or a remote worker. And then instead of you yourself living in this high-cost country with crime and all these problems, you can move to a much cheaper country with much higher standard of living. Actually, people don't realize that there's so many places around the world where you can get more for much less. I'm talking Eastern Europe, I'm talking Malaysia, I'm talking Thailand. And what this means is that instead of having to work for 40 years to reach financial freedom or whatever your goal is, you might only have to do it for 5 years or 10 years. Now, I know not everyone's interested in this. Maybe you just want to live in your country and that is absolutely fine. But I would highly, highly consider this if this is something that even resonates with you a little bit. And I also made a full video on how to become a remote developer and all these kind of things. I will leave that down below in the description. But that's only the first reason why I have a problem with the traditional corporate career path. The second reason is that you just don't know how long your job is going to become relevant. And so to address the quote that I presented to you in the start of the video, no, I don't think that programming will just become like a commodity. I don't think like in 10 years everyone's just gonna know how to code. I don't think AI is gonna replace programmers or anything like that. I think it's largely overblown. But while this is what I think, like we have to remember that I know absolutely nothing. I'm completely clueless.
That's the problem with just anybody being able to make a YouTube video these days, is that things get blown out of proportion. Fear mongering, now we don't have to just worry about the news feeding us bullshit all day. You know what I mean? You have to worry about YouTubers with the thumbnails and with the titles, because all of that AI, like people are going crazy over the Sora video. I'm like, bro, it's just an animated AI video. Like, come on. What's the problem there?
Be clueless. So seeing as you have one life, do you think it's really worth it for you to just put all your eggs in this one basket of you just working for this one company and having all your income be dependent on this one employer when they can literally just fire you at any time? So that's why my goal was always to learn the code, to get a job, yes, as you should in the beginning, but as soon as possible to start building side income, to start building side hustles, to have these multiple streams of income coming in. So even if one of them ends, even if I get fired, I can still make money. I'm not going to have to worry about the short term. People often say that having a job is...
That's the good thing about being a developer and being able to code, that you can easily do that. You can easily freelance. You can easily make your own personal website. You could easily make a personal brand, which we all should be doing as developers. Make your LinkedIn, make your Instagram. You're a developer now. Put your name out there. I'm even telling people make a YouTube. Although I know that isn't for everybody. You can even have a faceless YouTube still. This is a content creation economy. So we want to be positioning ourselves where we're riding the wave so that the future will be easier for us.
is the safe path, but I think it's sort of a very risky path to just have everything dependent on this one type of source of income. So if you can build out apps that solve problems, that over time as you build enough of these, maybe one of them takes off, it starts making money, amazing. If you can create content online, maybe you create a digital product, maybe you can start making freaking plugins for WordPress or something like that. Like there's so many possibilities that you can use coding to do all these kind of things. And the thing about working as a software developer is when you're working 9 to 5, you still have all the evenings and the weekends to build something else on the side as well. Maybe you just get another job, like literally get a second job. Because if you want to truly secure your future, you just want to start building out wealth as fast as possible. And the great thing, by the way, if you're doing this geographic arbitrage thing, rather than needing to build out like millions of dollars to be secure, you might only need like a couple of $100,000 because it's so cheap to live in some of these countries that you don't have to feel like you need millions or anything like that. If you're just willing to take out the first couple of years of your career to hustle as much as you possibly can and you just don't quit, I think anyone can do this. If you use these strategies and you keep these...
Man, he just motivated me with that at the end. I'm like, okay, I gotta get back on the grind. You know, I love videos like that where people bring up about hustling, about how time is not waiting for us, you know, and how we have all the time in the world right now to start building our skills as people, multiple sources of income. You know, we're leveling up. That's what we do here at the Digital Builders. Every day we're coding, we're working, we're growing, we're pulling people out of tutorial hell and blasting them off into the real world where they are now developers with portfolios who are freelancing and about to break into the industry. But before we go, I wanted to show you guys this crazy article that I saw. Hold on 1 second. It's about the Neuralink, right? I don't know how true this is, but I was looking at this and let me show you actually. So this article here says the first person to receive Elon Musk's Neuralink brain implant is using it to control a mouse with their thoughts. How trippy is that? I'm guessing that there's some kind of like connection between the Neuralink and the mouse. The first person to receive a brain implant from Elon Musk's Neuralink is using it to control a computer mouse with their thoughts, the billionaire has said. Mr. Musk announced last month that Neuralink had implanted its first chip into a person. He is still yet to give any details of the process, though the company had advertised for someone with quadriplegia and has said that the chip is implanted by a robot surgeon. That's even more trippy. Now, in a Twitter Spaces event, Mr. Musk has revealed that the recipient appears to be well and is using the system to control a computer. Progress is good, and the patient seems to have made a recovery with no ill effects that we're aware of, and is able to control the mouse, move the mouse around the screen just by thinking. Neuralink's primary work with the recipient is now attempting to make the commands more complex so that the chip can be used for different kinds of controls. We're trying to get as many button presses as possible from thinking. So that's what we're currently working on, is you can get left mouse, right mouse, mouse down, mouse up. We want to have more than just 2 buttons. So we're trying to make progress on that front, but overall it's looking very good. Neuralink began its preparations for human trials after receiving regulatory approval in September. Mr. Musk has said that the system is called telepathy, but much else remains secret about the trials. The study uses a robot to surgically place a brain-computer interface implant in a region of the brain that controls the attention to move, Neuralink says, adding that the initial goal is to enable people to control a computer cursor or keyboard using their thoughts. Neuralink, which has valued at $5 billion last year, has faced repeated calls for scrutiny regarding its safety protocols. Reported last month that the firm was fined for violating U.S. Department of Transportation rules regarding the movement of hazardous materials. The Independent is the world's most free-thinking news brand. So yeah, that's extremely trippy. Like, drop a comment if y'all would be down to try the Neuralink. I'm a tech guy, so you know I used to just joke around back in the day when they were talking about this to be like, hey, let's go, fuck it, give me superpowers. But I don't know, I definitely would not want to be one of the first like million people to do this probably. I would wait and wait and wait, but I don't ever want to be left behind in anything. You know what I mean? So if people are like never forgetting anything or like moving stuff with their mind, you might want to catch up or get left behind. But it's Lionel, the builder. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.